We're joined today by actress Nancy Nelson. She's part of the new show Love Letters at the Chanhassen Dinner Theatres, going on through November and then back again in February. Nancy, how you doing today?
I'm so great. Thanks very much for letting me do this with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's great speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Very good. Well, then I'm here. I'm ready when you are.
Well, Nancy, the show Love Letters coming back to Chanhassen Dinner Theatres here. Can you tell the listeners a bit about the show Love Letters?
Oh, I sure can, Dustin. How nice to be with them. And thanks very much for letting me stop in with you. Love Letters is written by an author who won the Pulitzer Prize for it. It's a very unusual show in that there are only two people in the show, Don Shelby, WCCO TV former news anchor, and myself. We join these two characters when they are very young. They're children of tremendous wealth and privilege. And mother says to the little girl, you have to write him a thank you note for your birthday present. And she does. And then they start writing back through summer camp and boarding school and college and marriages and children, careers. And we are with these people as they write letters to one another for 50 years. It is such a beautiful show. I think of anybody's 50 years of life, and the ups and downs and the complexities and the joys and the devastations. People laugh a lot. They cry a lot. It is just a beautiful time in the theater.
Excellent. And you mentioned performing with Don Shelby. Of course, longtime residents of Minnesota would recognize him. And you've had quite the career in broadcasting as well. And it seems like you and Don you've been friends almost as long as the couple in Love Letters.
Well, we have, Dustin. My husband, Bill Carlson, was a television news anchor at WCCO TV along with Don. They worked together for, nearly 35 years or so. So Don and I, of course, my husband's passed away. But Don and I are very, very good friends. And there is something quite special about coming and doing a show this intimate and this personal with someone that you have such a deep connection with. And it's quite something for the two of us to do it. One of the things, Dustin, that we do that we really love, and the audience seems to enjoy it, when after the show is over, we come out and we do a talk back, and people get to ask questions, and we answer every question they want and take a lot of pictures, and that's really nice for us to actually get to meet the people who have come to see the show.
And Love Letters runs through November, and then you'll be back again in February. I know you can get tickets for the dinner and the show at the box office and then on chanhassendt.com.
That's it exactly, Dustin.
Well, and you've performed in this show several times over the years. Does it all come back to you when you get ready for the show again? I imagine you must be able to kind of fall back into this role pretty quickly when things get going.
You're right. You understand that well. Yes, this is our fourth time performing, doing a run with the show. And you brush up your memory a little bit, but we have lived with these characters a lot, and we know them well. And so, like for this opening in November, we're just going to get together for one day to brush up, and director Michael Brindisi will say, now remember you did that, and no, don't do that, and pull that back, and punch that up a little bit, and we'll just do a refresher, and then off we go.
This, to me, seems like a pretty intense role. It's just the two of you on stage, but you don't really interact with each other. You don't really have like a big cast to rely on if you have an off night. It's like a one-woman show for you.
Well, you're very perceptive about all of that. There's no question that when anybody goes to see a play, you see actors moving around and looking at each other and talking and relying on each other. This play is very different. We never look at one another. We literally are involved in the reading of and the dramatic interpretation of our letters. And people are simply not used to seeing a theatrical thing like that. One always wonders, is it going to be so boring? Because there isn't a lot of on-stage movement. And it's quite the contrary, people tell us, and it's why it's been successful for so long. it is such a different experience, and you are with these people. By the time that show is over, you know them, you care deeply about them, and you have a lot of tremendous emotional feelings.
Wonderful. Again, Nancy Nelson's with us. She's part of the show Love Letters at the Chanhassen Dinner Theatres here, running through November and then back again in February. Nancy, I want to ask you a bit about your career before Chanhassen. I had seen and talked to you over the years as the greeter and the MC there. I never realized you were the same person I had watched as a kid all the time on TV.
You know what, Justin? I'm so old now that pretty much everybody watched me when they were a kid. I, of course, love being at the dinner theater as the MC there and occasionally on stage. I just have had this wonderful, astonishing, blessed, fortunate ride. I was on stage at 8. I had my first television show when I was a senior in high school. A couple of weeks out of high school, Don Stoltz at the Old Log Theater hired me at his professional theater as an actor, and I was there for 20 years doing a television show during the day, What's New at Channel 11, and on stage at night. The best of all of it, born to Willis and Florence Nelson, which made everything possible, and then My Billy made it further possible, married to Bill Carlson, the former news anchor at WCCO-TV. That's the essence of my life, my Billy.
Well, Nancy, it definitely has been a great ride, and it continues to go on here. How did you transition into working in infomercials? I remember seeing you working with the Juice Man and George Foreman and Chuck Norris. I mean, you must have been on TV maybe more than anyone else in history.
Well, it's interesting you would say that. The Guinness Book of World Records had contacted me at one time and never ultimately went forward with it. But yes, at one point, at the height of infomercials, I had done about 50 infomercials, and there was, maybe 15 of them that were really big hits. And at any time, 1 or 2 or 3 of them might have been running at the same time. And infomercials were worldwide. People all over the world would pick up an American infomercial, dub it into their foreign language, and sell the product there. We had friends in Europe who would contact us and then send us a VHS that they had recorded at the time. And I'll tell you what, I spoke Spanish and German and Hebrew and French. It was an amazing thing, and yes, it was estimated that for a number of years, 24 hours a day, I was on the air someplace in the world.
And that is impressive. I don't know if people really know because they don't get to do a lot of that sort of thing, but when you do a show like that or an interview, you have to worry about what you're going to do and what you're going to say, and then really you kind of have to be like the traffic cop for everything else on screen as well and kind of make sure everybody's where they're supposed to be.
You're very perceptive. And yes, that was my job. I would show up with the person who was, quote, the expert on the product. They would show it, demonstrate it, explain it. And my job, I defined it that way. When they said, how do you think you can do this? I decided that I wanted to be the person at home watching this show. And if I was at home watching this show, what would I ask about? Wait a minute, what? It can do that? No, it can't. Tell me that again. Show me that one more time. So my role was the person at home trying to understand and learn about this. As a result, I just had so much fun with it because I was legitimately curious and asking questions and helping us together understand what this product was all about.
Well, again, as you mentioned, a lot of people grew up watching you, and you're still getting it done here. You're a part of Love Letters at the Chanhassen Dinner Theatres coming up here. What else is coming up for you, Nancy? Are you performing in anything else or maybe working on any other projects?
Well, it's interesting you would say that, and I the answer is there is nothing specific. However, Michael Brindisi, the artistic director for 37 years at Chanhassen Dinner Theatres, just think, and he is literally a theatrical genius. Michael came just the other day and said, we need to find some more two-person shows so that we can have you and Don do other two-person shows. So I know that is in the works as part of the exploration, should there be a future for Don and me. And Don and I are senior, we're senior at this point. We're lucky that we both are still active and involved and love doing it. But I always say to Michael when he says, you think you'd be up to more? I say, Michael, you give me a role, you can push me out on stage on a gurney and I'll do it. So do come and see us at Chanhassen Dinner Theatres in Love Letters. And especially if you do, be sure you stay for that talk back and come up and say hello. Heard you on Dustin's show. I promise you'll meet Don Shelby. That's always the big deal. And we can take pictures and just spend a little time together.
Excellent. Nancy, it's been great speaking with you, and you are such a professional, and I could see why you've been on TV more than anyone else. And I'm looking forward to Love Letters. Again, thank you so much for your time today.
Dustin, thank you for giving me the time. I appreciate it very much. It's nice to be with you.
And again, that was Nancy Nelson, one half of the show Love Letters at the Chanhassen Dinner Theatres, running through November and again in February. Get your tickets now at the box office or at chanhassendt.com.